the people.
Okay.
So in YouTube also they can whatever commit they want to do it.
Okay.
They can comment on the YouTube so that we can answer in there also.
Okay.
Maybe Lakshmi, if really they are like they are connects to each other very well, they can join in the Zoom, because some people will be putting their unmute mic and somebody will be screaming and all. If more people are there in the this one Zoom, then it's little clumsy.
We are
to
live
control
on
them.
YouTube, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
We are live? Okay. Namaskar, dear friends. So, Praroha Center for Arts Foundation warmly welcomes you all, the audience, also the all panelists and moderator, for today's Hunnimeya Sobagu. Today we are not dancing, yes, but we can't leave dance and rhythm in our life. So both are so much associated, because when art is beating, then automatically our leg and hands are dancing. But maybe because of our everyday activities, we are ignoring this concept of movement or a dance. We will be thinking that we are just walking, but actually we are dancing. So, dear friends, today in our Hunnimeya Sobagu, episode 27, we have discussion on the dance. ಮಕ್ಕಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೃತ್ಯದ ಅರಿವನ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮೂಡಿಸೋದು, ಅದರ ಮಹತ್ವವೇನು ಅನ್ನುವ ಒಂದು ಅರಿವಿಕೆಗಾಗಿಯೇ ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂದಿನ ಹುಣ್ಣಿಮೆಯ ಸೊಬಗು. So I don't take much time. Always I will be talking. And today we are so pleased to have so many people expert in their field. Of course, we are all not playing the single role in our life. That's why we can call it ourselves as an artist. So professionally, homemaker and career making, of course, we have our own responsibility in making society in a disciplined way, because we are utilizing our disciplinary into our younger generation. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಬೆಳೆಯುವ ಪೈರು ಮೊಳಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮಹಾಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಅಭಿಮನ್ಯುವನ್ನೇ ನಾವು ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ, ತಾಯಿಯ ಗರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಕೂಡ ಅವನು ಈ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಶ್ರೀ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪರಮಾತ್ಮ ವಾಸ್ ಟೆಲಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಹಿಸ್ ಮದರ್. So that he utilized when the circumstances has come. So it shows that we don't get any knowledge once after coming to the earth, but even in ತಾಯಿಯ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿರುವಾಗ್ಲೇನೆ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಈ ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಪಾಲಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮೋಡನ್ನ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಹೀಗಾಗಿಯೇ ನಾವು ಹುಟ್ಟುವ ಮಗುವಿನ ಅಳುವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ melody, we can feel the melody of the song, and when it moves its hands and legs, we can see the movement on that one. That is nothing but the dance movement. As I'm just mentioning, I will warmly welcome you all one more time, the panelists and the moderator Deepthi and Bindya, to take over, and please introduce our panelists for today's discussion of our Hunnimeya Sobagu topic. One more time, welcome you all for our Hunnimeya Sobagu.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi ma'am, and a warm welcome to everybody. I'm glad that today we are discussing a very, very important topic, that is the role of dance in cognitive development of children. What really is dance? Dance is a way of using our body to narrate stories, to tell stories, right? And using dance, we can express what's happening inside us, what's happening around the world, what's happening with our friends, with our family. So dance is something that is very natural to us. Dance, as ma'am was mentioning, as Lakshmi ma'am was mentioning, is born probably in the womb. Since movement is known to us even before we are born, that's the way of communicating. A prenatal child communicates with its parents by kicking and moving. And dance has been a big part of our culture. If you see, we have Lord Nataraja representing dance in India. We have Ganesha, who is Nartana Ganesha. We have Saraswati, who plays Veena, and music is an essential aspect of dance. And in every culture, every ethnic culture, we see that dance is there. Dance is present, either as folk form or a classical form or a formal dance, informal dance. It's always there, right? And for me, the most important, rather interesting aspect is that there is a huge Nataraja statue placed in CERN, Geneva. And this is a research institute that works on how the universe was born and revealing the mysteries of atoms and subatomic particles. And there, our country, India, has gifted a huge statue of Nataraja, who is basically dancing and telling the world that creation and destruction happens this way, right? So creation and destruction, dance of creation and destruction is represented by Nataraja. And that's how we connect dance and science. The topic today is going to be discussing a lot more about this. We are going to see how dance is a very, very important aspect in development of a human being. Here, when we mention dance, it's also movements. A structured movement becomes a dance. I welcome everybody once again. And for some reason, my video is not there. I'll try to figure out technically what's happening. Meanwhile, let me introduce our panelists for the day. We have Bindya. Bindya, would you like to add something? Because she is also one of the moderators for the day.
Thank you, Deepthi. Hello, everybody. I'm honored to be here as one of the moderators. I'm a student of Lakshmi Ma'am of Praroha Kathak School. I've been learning dance from her for about 10 years now. I've been dancing since a very young age, a very, very young age. I think probably around 3 or 4 years old. I've been dancing since then. And I feel like my body, I think that is movement is one of the better intelligences that I have, is what I think about, when I think about the different intelligences that a child or an individual can have. I know for a fact how important movement is for everyone, let alone for children, and how important movement is for development of children. I am a child psychologist by profession, and one of the things that I have to constantly fight in and out with parents and with school teachers is that let our children move. At a very tender age of 3-4 years, we take our children to school, and as soon as they enter school, what do we ask them to do? Sit and listen. That's what we tell them to do. So we suit them up, we boot them up. So we've already taken them away from nature. There is no touch to the nature. And we put them in a classroom, a concrete building, and we ask them to sit. I've had panel discussions where, people would call in, where teachers would call in and tell me, I have this child who is not sitting. And I would ask them, how old is the child? And they would say 3. And I'm like, why are you even asking a 3-year-old to not move? Right? A 3-year-old should be moving. That is the natural tendency of a 3-year-old. So the importance of movement is huge, and we don't give enough attention to that. And we know for a fact that movement definitely helps cognitive development. And as children grow up, maybe after a certain age, probably free play is not an option. They don't have as much time for doing free play. So maybe structured classes like dancing would be a way for them to keep moving. So having said that, I would like to hand it over back to Deepthi so that we can start with the panel. Thank you very much for being here today, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bindya, for participating in this and putting this together with me and Lakshmi ma'am. So let me introduce our panelists to everyone. We have Sukriti Dua, who is a psychologist, a dance movement therapy facilitator, and she has been a course co-director come faculty for Creative Movement Therapy Association India's certificate program. And she holds a deep interest in group work, conducts workshops for schools, universities, corporates across Delhi and Bangalore. That's a short introduction. There's so much more, which all of you can go to our Instagram profiles and have a look. We have Asha Chillal with us. Asha Chillal is a counseling psychologist, previously an engineer who has worked with L&T for 7 years, but now she has around 6,000 hours of counseling experience. She has worked with clients across various age groups and has addressed concerns like relationships, trauma, grief, mental health, parenting, and many more. Asha is also my childhood friend. So welcome, Asha, to the panel today. We have...
Thank you, Dipti.
Thank you, Asha. We have Dr. Jaya Bajaj also with us, who is a family physician. She is trained in US and has a strong belief in blending old-fashioned patient care with new age digital technologies. She has over 20 years of experience, believes in holistic approach to patient care, and has a strong focus on wellness and prevention. She is also mother of Isha, who is a Kathak student of Praroha Kathak Academy. Most welcome, Dr. Jaya Bajaj.
Thank you. Thank you. Honored to be here.
Same here. So next we have Lakshmi ma'am. Lakshmi ji is a Bharatnatyam dancer and founder director of Nrityopasana Academy of Indian Dances. She has dedicated over 30 years to the art of Bharatnatyam, Mohiniyattam, and Kuchipudi. She has a master's in Bharatnatyam, fine arts in Bharatnatyam, and also a Master of Science in Psychology, which is a great combination according to me, Lakshmi ji. And she combines her passion for dance with deep insights into cognitive and emotional development of children through her innovative themes, both in classical and non-classical Indian dances. Thank you so much, Lakshmi ji, for coming here.
Thank you, Ms. Deepti, for having me here. I'm really excited to be part of this panel.
Thank you so much. So Bindya introduced herself. So let me give you a brief introduction about me, the moderator. I am Deepti. I have been a Kathak dancer. I've been learning from Lakshmi ma'am from Praroha since 2011, and I have learned how to dance, and I have also learned how to train from her. And it's been a really wonderful journey learning Kathak from her. Apart from that, I am also an engineer who dropped out I quit my engineering career as a chip designer and moved on to learn about human development when I plan to become a parent. I'm a very passionate mother to my son, Prakrit, who is 9.5 years old. I just completed my certification with Simtai in dance movement therapy. Sukriti was my faculty. I'm glad she is here today. And I also help parents, homeschooling parents, and other parents who would like to have an Indian approach to parenting and Indian understanding psychology through the Indian lens. So that's my job. And today I will be facilitating this session with all of you. I would like to begin with what Lakshmi ma'am started. Movement begins in the womb. And as a mother myself, I have experienced this. I've been a conscious parent to my child. And when I sang songs to my son when he was in the womb, particular songs, he responded by kicking or pushing. And I know that was his way of acknowledging that I am listening to you. And he was born, and I could see that when he was around 2-3 months, he held his hands this way and he stared at these movements, flexing and stretching his hands, and he could engage himself with that movement for so many minutes. And for a child who is 3 months old, that's a long time. Beyond that, when I gave him toys, the rattles, specific rattles, typical rattles, he tried to move them. And after that, there were a lot of massages that I would give him and conversations during these massage and a lot of play with him with conversations. And, I know he was not ready to walk, but still I helped him. I held his hand and, encouraged him to walk. And he danced to music. There were rhythms that, he had in his life. I am directing this question to Sukriti. all these, don't they suggest that there was cognitive development in the child? And trust me, he didn't go to school to learn how to walk, right? He learned it on his own with a little encouragement from family and people around. He learned how to play with toys on his own. And for the children here, we are talking about cognition. What really is cognition? It's, imagine we are like a supercomputer and we learn, we think, we dance, we play. From where does all this happen? Because we have something called as cognition, something called as intelligence, we are able to do different activities in our life. So Sukriti, handing it over to you, please throw some light on what is important for cognitive development of children. What kind of environment should parents or school or the community around create for cognitive development of children? And how is movement involved in it?
Right. Thanks, Deepti. I think that's a brilliant start to this discussion. And I had the same thought when ma'am was mentioning about the womb and movement from there. So cognitive itself, right? Like for the children as well, if I may put it out there, that it refers to connections that we make inside our body that help us understand more and more. So it's what is happening on the inside when we are learning outside. Essentially, that is the cognition. So what happens is that there are different points of times where different things align with different connections in our mind, right? So I'm going to probably for the children as well use a little bit of a prop that I just had beside me. This is a Rubik's Cube, right? Just to get a sense of what it is. So let's imagine this as the brain for now. I know it looks nothing like it, but let's imagine it as that. So let's say when we move, there's a certain part that gets activated, right? When we perhaps speak, there's a certain part that gets activated. Or when we listen to others, there's another part that gets activated. Or when we feel a certain emotion, there's another part that gets activated. So as and when these parts keep getting activated, that's when the cognitive framework starts developing. The development happens, learning happens, memory happens. Now, you mentioned a very interesting thing, Deepti, about music, right? That kicking happens, right? So there are a lot of studies actually that have proven that when you listen to music, actually it's not one part, but it's like fireworks in the entire brain come up. So that's a very interesting study that's there. There's even a good YouTube video on it. So essentially what happens when there's music or when there's more movement, what we are trying to do is we're activating multiple parts. And when multiple parts get activated together, it's like more connections form together. The more connections form together, the better learning or the better memory gets built for us, the better decision making, problem solving, all of those cognitive aspects, all of that start becoming better because our connections are stronger. So we are able to go from one place to the other quicker because our connections are lightening up and firing up together. So essentially, if we look at it, movement and music are very, very essential to that. And I think what Bindya said in the beginning is that, no, we ask them to sit or we ask them to not move. That is actually slowing down the development rather than letting it take its natural course. So even if we were to compare, let's say, someone who's in a homeschooled environment, someone who's in a sit-down classroom environment versus someone who might be in outside who's not schooling, there might still be a same or different level of cognitive development that may have happened, even if it's not in the academic subject context. Because cognitive is just not related to only the factors that are related to, knowing things about certain subjects, but a lot more than that, a lot more of life skills. So I think somewhere just picking up from that, music and movement both play a very, very important role in bringing that up. And just to add one small thing to that is that some things that are there are also part of how our body moves. The more connections that are made, the more easier it is for the internal body, internal brain and mind to process things. So I think that's what is the crux of, adding all of these things to the cognitive development aspect.
Thank you, Sukriti. It's literally like I am going to a library and a gym at the same time when I dance and listen to music, right? Yeah. So thank you for that. And moving from movements of children to movements of parents. So Asha, can you throw some light on how parents can include movements in their child's daily life and how probably parents can be involved in the development of children? How can they be involved in the therapeutic aspects of a child's development?
Right. Thank you for the question, Dipti. So, when we talk about movement, definitely dance is something that comes to our mind. But apart from that, on a day-to-day basis, I think movement can be anything to do with, doing small chores. A lot of time we also see that, parents um, don't find enough time to spend with children, right? So quality time also becomes very important. And how do you spend this quality time together? It could be while you're doing chores, right? Like encouraging children to do small things. And again, it depends on age appropriate, chores as well. Like asking them to just fetch water for themselves or asking them to fold clothes. These small chores also bring in a lot of movement in children as well. Maybe encouraging them to like go on walks with them. When you're taking a vacation, spending more time outside, because a lot of times we see that the sedentary lifestyle, especially after COVID, that we see in children, has increased the screen time as well. So encouraging them to do things, maybe even playing with children. It could be outdoor games, it could be indoor games, but something that involves movement, that can be something which parents can get involved in, right? Because very often we also see that these days parents are also having a very sedentary lifestyle. So it may not just help the children, but it also helps the parents as well to connect. And I think the advantages are not just about movement, but when you move, there are a lot of chemicals in our body that are being activated, right? Like it helps us to develop certain chemicals in our body which are called neurotransmitters, and these are very necessary for us to feel motivated, to feel pleasure, or to feel interested, like dopamine, serotonin, and all of that is being produced when you're moving. So I think it's a good activity that parents can choose to do along with the children, which not only benefits them but also benefits their children, and it develops this sense of you know spending quality time together. Your relationship improves. And like I think Jam ma'am was talking about how adolescents, right? Like we probably don't check in a lot with them, but they would love to be checked in. So maybe although they do like their own space, and maybe they're at an age where they feel like only our peers understand us and not our parents. So I think that is also an age where parents can check in a little more to encourage them to get involved in things. It could be even festivals, and we just had the Ganesha festival, so encouraging them to get involved in like community activities and stuff like that, which not only encourages movement but also brings in a lot of camaraderie between the family and friends as well. So at the top of my mind, these are few things that I think we can all definitely do, and it does not require anything external as such.
I think I completely agree with you, Asha. In fact, combining with what Sukriti says, I am a parent who has not sent my child to school. So he is being homeschooled. And honestly, I don't see a difference between a child who goes to a school versus his cognitive abilities. And he is involved in shows like how Asha was mentioning. He is the person in our house who takes care of managing the clothes and keeping the vessels and, simple activities like this, which he is capable of doing, making his own bed and playing a lot. Of course, that is part of his routine. Thank you, Asha, for that. Going to Jaya ma'am, I think Asha brought in a very good point about adolescence. And we see that children, probably below 12 years of age, are still having enough playtime. But when we move on to adults or adolescents, we see that the focus is so much more on their academics. And that comes with peer pressure, with parents or schools, all of that stress adding on in their life. So how does that probably build on their stress, and how does it affect their growth, and how does it affect their overall well-being? Could you talk about that, please?
I think I can probably speak better as a teen parent, perhaps than as a doctor. We've been very hands-on parents, and we believed in holistic development and not really being part of the rat race. But despite our best efforts, it's very hard for our kids to not get affected, because the peer pressure is real. We've tried to push our daughter into as many activities apart from studies. She's also a wonderful writer. She did do some tennis, but the moment 10th sets in, she herself felt like if she didn't participate in certain academic activities, she's gonna be left out. So it's very hard to protect a child, or even to reassure them or give them the confidence that it's going to be okay in long run. You don't have to put these things on hold or back burner, but it's really really hard. And I can empathize with a lot of parents in my situation. So when I see teens, between the school pressures and the classes and preparation for competitive exams, all these things kind of get left behind. So and the stress of studies, I mean, the Indian education system, it's just unreal. So we have to try our best, and I call it, the protected time. I think as a mother, we have to have that time protected for our kids to engage in some extracurricular activity. If the kid is interested in fitness, any form of movement, I think has to be there to compensate for the prolonged sitting and the time that they spend in academia. Whether it's a sport or a dance, again, going by what the kid is interested in, it's wonderful stress buster. And we've been firsthand, we have experienced it firsthand on how much impact it can be. It not just lowers the stress, but boosts confidence. I feel apart from improving their social skills or confidence, it also enriches the time they spend in studies. So I feel the kids are very well adjusted. They handle peer pressure well, and also takes them away from social media, which is a real pain nowadays. So, yeah.
Completely agree with you on that. Yes, we must encourage our adolescents to probably give equal importance to every aspect of their life and not just focus only on their academics, right? So ultimately, it's our relationships, it's our own mental space that is so much more important to us. So thank you, Jaya. Thank you, Jayaji, for enlightening us with that. And I know that many parents like you are having teenage daughters and sons, and they will probably take a note of this. Coming to Lakshmiji, who is also a parent to teenage daughters and who has been a classical dancer herself, we have been talking about dance and movement. Could you talk about how a classical dance is different from a free-form dance or free-form movements, and what is the impact of classical dance on developing child and adult?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Deepti. So first of all, before I start, I would like to mention that as Deepti has mentioned, I am a classical dancer and a mother, and I'm also a school teacher. So there is going to be a lot of overlap in what I'm going to speak, because I deal with dance students, I deal with academic students who I teach, say, English, science, and math in school. And I'm also a mother of an adolescent and an adult and an adolescent daughter. So there is going to be a lot of overlap in this, and dance and this cognitive development psychology are all very very passionate topics for me to discuss. So I'm really going to dive right into it. So when I look at dance and cognitive development, I would say it's a very interesting topic. It's like, looking at the brain through the lens of dance. And I would like to talk about it in a twofold manner, like how Ms. Deepti said, as, as a child's cognitive development and also in adulthood. So one is the long-term impact of the kind of development that happens as an individual enters the geriatric age. We know we have been learning about this, late onset of dementia, or how dance helps in preventing Alzheimer's and such disorders. The other one is what we talk about more with more importance, like how it helps in the cognitive development of children, how it impacts their intelligence, their thinking skills, memory, focus, recollection, and all those aspects of cognitive development. And I also feel there is a lot of overlap. We cannot be only talking about cognitive development. It is also related to their emotional, social,
Lakshmiji, I think your mic went on mute by mistake. Can you just unmute yourself? Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. So I don't know how much you heard. So as a classical dancer, teacher, and a mother, of course, I believe all kinds of movements, like how ma'am said, even the little household chores that the children do. And in any form of dance, it can be a freestyle dance, a contemporary, or a classical dance. Any kind of dance definitely goes a long way into the development of a child. And when it comes to classical dance, I feel there is more structure that the student follows from the beginning, be it the posture, be it the mudras, the pattern, the sequences. So there is a lot of rigid patterns that the child gets used to, so the brain is kind of trained in a certain manner. So I feel that they tend to um, develop the kind of skills that they need to, say, anticipate something. They know how to be very alert in their environment. Say, for example, when the student is performing on stage, she's taking cues from the musicians, she's taking cues from her environment. Sometimes she has to stand in a pose, for sometimes somebody else is performing, she has to respond to the other person's narration. So all these things, I think, make the child more attentive and more focused. One main thing that I really admire about dance and being a dancer, which I have personally realized, is the selective attention. Like whatever happens in your environment, your brain is really trained to stay focused at what you are doing, stay focused at the task in hand for you. So that is something that I have realized myself in my journey, as well as when I see my children, or the senior students who have been training under me for a very long time. So that is something that I have seen in many students. So they're very used to the patterns and sequences and the order and all that. Another thing is, which I really would say admire and appreciate, is the spatial orientation. I see many children who have orientation issues, like when in school, for example, during the assembly or in the PE sports drill practice and all that, they have very severe issues with orienting themselves to the environment, certain angles. Many children struggle with corners. They can manage right, left, front, back, but when it comes to diagonals, it's a big stress for them. So that is something that I have really worked with a couple of my students in the dance class, which has definitely helped them to orient themselves with whichever space they are in. So these two things are really mind blowing about dance. um, Another thing is, like, this is with my own daughter, like when she was in her grade 10 preparation for the pre-boards and boards and all that. I'm sure most of you know ISE has this Shakespeare as their English literature textbook, and Shakespeare language is a language of its own. And there were times when she used to be so stressed and so low that she didn't know how to grasp it, what was happening in each scene. And we have actually used Abhinayam to kind of remember the scenes, who's a character. So if the character is a male, how you show the character is entering the scene, and this is what happens. So that has really helped. So how you can express, how you can recall events from your textbook through dance is another kind of skill that she had acquired through dance training for many years. So these are some of the beautiful things that I would never stop talking about in dance. And when it comes to mudras again, so classical dance, since Deepti asked specifically about classical dance and non-classical dances, so the mudras and postures are very, very important when it comes to your brain activities and your focus and all that. So there are children who have these fine motor control and coordination issues, who get really better by practicing the postures and the mudras and dance. And as a teacher, when I meet parents in school regarding sometimes there will be slow learners, there will be children with learning disabilities, writing disabilities. So it is a very natural, normal tendency to say that your child is not writing well, he's not completing his work, the handwriting needs to be improved. But what parents tend to do is they make them write pages and pages and pages and pages to improve the handwriting, to make them learn. But unless it is identified, the problem is identified, the child may have some motor skill issues, the pincer hold could be a problem. There could be, writing may be very laborious for the child, even if it is one sentence, even if it is half a page, because of these kind of underlying issues. So how like I tell the parents, like, make him do something at home, like where he can have the pincer hold, use your fingers instead of spoon and fork. In school we do all this beading, buttoning activity and all that, but nothing like the household chores at home, like folding clothes or picking up something, sorting something, cutting something. So these are the basic things that I think will go a long way into the development of the child as a student or as an artist. So dance help in all of these. It's like a holistic development that many curriculums really boast about when it comes to dance, especially classical dances, because there is a lot of structure, there is a lot of scientific research and truth that have gone into giving structure to a classical dance form. So I think I should take a break now.
No, I think
Going on and on like that.
no, there
So
were a lot of valid points that came up
yeah,
and important
okay.
aspects that you have addressed about probably the academic learning of a child, the writing skills of a child, the motor skills of a child, and how classical dance form and the vocabulary of classical dance form helps with
Yes.
that. And me being a classical dancer as well, Lakshmiji, to add on, I have noticed that there is one abstract nature to the dance, which words probably can fail us. Many a times we cannot speak, but then with body, and especially with Indian classical dance forms, since they are meant to express the abstract, we are talking about sciences that are beyond human sciences, if I can call that. So it's very easy to express. That is something that I've found with classical dance forms, whether it is mudras, the hastas, or the kind of different aspects of the chals, as we call in Kathak, or the way we walk, the way we express through our faces, facial expressions, and eyes. I think all of that gives an enhanced vocabulary for somebody to express what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and that
Absolutely.
helps with,
There's a
as you
lot of
mentioned.
scope for self-expression.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think it is a great stress buster. In fact, Bindya shared an article with me just recently. It was about a girl who cleared her PG NEET. And for her, Bharatnatyam was the go-to stress buster. And, keeping away from social media and dancing, taking a break and dancing really helped her focus. And you address that as well. It really cuts down the noise and you can focus on what you really want to do and create narratives that can help you with your life.
Right.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lakshmi
Thank
ji.
you.
I think we can probably open out a little bit to the audience.
Uh,
If you have any
yeah, before
questions,
going to the audience, because I was just controlling myself to tell that, yeah, Jayaji said that, yeah, just to keep the social media away from the kids, the dancing is the idiom where we can engage them to occupy their right side, the brain, which is more creativity. And Lakshmi was saying that, yes, the mudras will help us to communicate. So they say where the language stops to express ourselves, then our whole body will express what we want. So that's why they say that the dancer, whichever country they no need to know that local language, because whole body will be the language for them to communicate. Somehow they will communicate through their body, and they will come to know that they will ask you. This is my personal experience also. They say that your body is more expressive. Are you a dance teacher? That's the credits we will take it as a dancer. So in this time, actually, I wanted to steal one sharing Bindya. Once upon a time, she told me that one when the parents meeting happens in the school. So every parents was scribbling with their kids' academic mark sheet, getting 80%, 90% and all. But her son was not so bothered about the 90 marks and all, but she's still happy because he was engaged with other activities also. That's the skill, development skill. It's not just to just a bookworm, just read and go and put it across in the paper and get just the marks. Once you analyze, the analyze of the subject will come through the dance or allied arts. So always she used to mention that only I am the parents who will go and tell the principal that I am happy whatever he is getting marks, because he is good in life skills to understand the concept of that one. I think, I am not much into that academic or mother, but as I understood, that is more important. The life skills, the development, in how we have to adjust and we have to come out with our stress is more important in a child education. Well, they are in a kids, if we know or if we make the kids to understand the skill to tackle the situation, I think in that scenario we can survive it anywhere, any circumstances, any situation. We don't require any external pressure or external advice or external lighting to solve our problem. That's what I wanted to share with you. I think you are all agree with my point. Yes, over to again Deepti.
Yeah, may I add something there, Deepti?
Please go ahead.
Yes,
So I
yes,
think
please.
what both the Lakshmi ma'ams have perhaps put out for us is like a very interesting point that's there that we also use in dance movement therapy. It's called kinesthetic learning, right? So that is the body's ability to, absorb and learn. So both that concept really has come out very well. And like it's so nice to see that it's being applied, right? Like it's basically using the body and life skills in the same things that we use in the educational aspect. So not in a traditional sit down method, but perhaps like adding a layer to it, which goes back to, increasing and making it a multimodal approach. So the more modes we attach to something, the more number of times we attach something, I think it definitely does play a very good role. And if I may share a little bit about one of the times where I was working in a school setup, that was a group setup, and we were working a lot more on emotional expression or self identity. With this is the grade 3 to 5, and we are working a lot more with DMT based sessions, and we were doing a lot more of those within that work within our session. But the school teachers did kind of come back and say that there's something different that we're noticing in these classes now, because they are also having the ability to sit still because they have the space and agency to be able to do and learn other things in another way. So they're able to appreciate both the aspects of learning rather than just feel bound. And ultimately, I think what we're all trying to say is that we need to expand those horizons, right? To be able to increase that learning and to be able to have more modes in which that can happen. So just felt like adding that as both of you shared that.
No, perfect. In fact, Sripati, I was just about to ask you. My next question was about emotional regulation and balancing energies, right? We see that more and more children these days find it really hard to balance, and they just have tantrums, and many parents complain about this. And managing their energies for a teacher also is a task. I'm sure Lakshmi ji might talk about this. I've seen many teachers complaining about, these children do not sit still in the class. And how does movement help this, the emotional regulation and balancing their energies? If you can talk about that.
Right, of course. So, essentially, when we are looking at the dysregulation itself, right? Let's backtrack to where we started off. We started off today with discussing how movement is essential, and then we went to the education system where we understand that everything is very structured, disciplined, do it like this and do it like that, very directional in that sense. Less agency, less choice. So, what happens as a result of that less agency and less choice is the suppression happens, right? So some form of emotional suppression happens, some sort of physical energy based suppression happens. And where is that suppression going? Right? Essentially, just if I were to, even for the kids here, if I were to take an example that when we have something in our hand, like think of it like a sponge, and I'm pressing it from top and pressing it even more, it's not going anywhere. It's there. It's just kind of reducing in size, but ready to pop out the moment I release the hold. So that is where the dysregulation, that is where the regulation shifts, because it is pressed to such a point that now it can't contain itself. So automatically it will push you back. That is where the dysregulation comes in, because even the child doesn't know what to do with it, because suppression didn't happen on the child's choice, right? So when we look at moving, what moving does is that this suppression is ultimately resting in our muscles, in our body, and somewhere we have felt something, like sometimes when we feel a little bit of worry, we feel some heated up somewhere in our body, right? Or we get tired, we might feel a little bit of weight on our shoulders, different things like that. So there are sensations attached to body, sensations attached to certain feelings. So in when we use movement for that, right, what happens is that we are using the body to express and to open up this suppression little by little, not bouncing it off, but just little by little trying to, let's say, use the body to expand, use the body in terms of expressing a certain emotion. It could be very simple things like, showing up, like showing a happy feeling. How does it look like in your body? Or noticing an anger. What kind of different sensations does anger bring in your body? And then be able to express that also. So in a lot of the sessions that we take in the field of dance movement therapy, there are a lot of open and free spaces, safe spaces to be able to do that. So it's not that the anger will spill out in ways that, the kid themselves may not be able to handle it, kid or adult may not be able to handle it. It's more like small moments where we are bringing up a little bit expression of, okay, how does this feel in your body? So we are actually having to add that. Now, even though it was something so natural to everyone, movement, body, music, when they began, but the fact that it got deleted and suppressed over time, it's something that we are adding and reintroducing. So it helps release energies. So a lot of us were talking about stress, right? And I think that is what happens when we are going into a stress-free or a stress reduction through dance, because it helps release a lot of these suppressed energies. Basically, think of it like it starts bouncing a little. So it allows a little bit of that air to keep coming out when we use our body, because that ultimately comes back to us, like those feelings bounce up in us. It kind of freshens our perspective. Like I think one of the NEET exam, right? Someone was saying that. So all of those things are that it's keeping my brain active, but in a very self-agency, self-choice based way. So it's something that my body chooses. It's something that I'm feeling and processing, and thus I am able to express that. So somewhere using that can help in regulation a lot more. So even what Asha ma'am had said earlier about introducing movement, if, parents are able to keep the kids moving at home in certain ways, it can actually aid expression rather than suppress it. So yeah, I think that sums it up a little bit.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful illustration of a sponge being suppressed. And I'm sure all the children here can relate to that, even if they are not able to express it out openly. I'm sure they experience the stress that is put onto them, whether by their parents or school, knowingly, unknowingly. Yeah. So I think, Asha, can we take a small question answer session with the parents and children here, if all the panelists are also on board?
Yeah, definitely. We can do
Yeah.
that.
So is there a question that the audience has, whoever is attending here, the students, the parents, would you like to ask something to the panelists here? You can raise your hand or unmute yourself. I can highlight you, I can spotlight you. No questions? Yeah. Vaishnavi. Can you come on video also, Vaishnavi? Yeah. Unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, my lighting is not really good.
That's okay.
It's more of a sharing that I wanted to do regarding regarding a point. It was not a question, but I remembered a memory that came into my mind when Jaya ma'am was talking about how dance can relieve stress. And I was doing Bharatanatyam. I was going for Bharatanatyam classes when I was from a young age. So when I was about 8 or 9, I remember taking so much of stress because of exams. And when I look back, it is very hilarious right now. But when I look back, it was about 1 week to the exam, and I was taking so much stress. And I was like, no, I'm not going to the dance class. I need to finish a lot of work that I have to do. I need to study a lot. I need to do something. And then my mom is like, I remember she telling me, no, you're not going to miss dance class because of this. You are supposed to go. And she forced me to go. And then I remember after finishing the dance class that day, and it was a extended session on that particular day. It was like full, bodily exhaustion. And after completing the class, I remember coming back to my mother and telling, Ma, thank you so much that you pushed me to go today for class. And I felt so relaxed that all those stress, it gave two aspects. Like my stress came down, it gave me a joy that was lacking for a very long time. And because of that joy, I did really well in my exam. So that stress level also came down, and with the joy that I had, I realized something very beautiful that day. It's like two things that were stress is not going to take you anywhere, and for you, your bodily expression in any kind of movement also brings in something more than just just doing movements for the beats. It's something that you sync with life. And that taught me a very beautiful thing, like as and when, even when the life goes, it's something that you can't separate from life. Like even when you get happy, you just do shoulder movements for happiness. Like it starts from there, the nuances of dance movement. So it was a very beautiful experience. So that came to my mind when Jayamam was talking about how dance relieves stress. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vaishnavi, for sharing that. And I think me and Lakshmi ma'am have a personal agenda there. Please take inspiration from Vaishnavi and do not miss dance classes when you have exams. It really helps if you come to dance classes. It helps you break your routine. It helps you release all the stress that you have been accumulating. And Vaishnavi has given us an example of that today. Please ensure that you come to dance classes when you have, especially when you have exams around the corner. Yes. Yeah.
Actually, exams is for the marks. As Vaishnavi mentioned, dance for the joy. Because when and even in the previous some other performance, Deepthi and one more my student Prajakta was expressing, when we are happy, we will make our surroundings also happy. The same way, when the exam comes, if the parents are cool, the student also will cool. The coolness will give you more space to opt for the exam preparation. So even when we are panic, we don't know the solution for that problem. When you just chill out and you come out from that problem, then if you see that problem, you will get solution. This coming out from the situation is nothing but the dance movement or a dance therapy or the dance. Yes, Deepti. Sorry, I will be popping in between when I can't control.
Yes.
Yes.
Expressions come naturally to dancers. Yeah, I think let's taking that cue. Asha, I would like to ask you this. How about when parents are stressed, whether it is because of their own personal life or career, or they are taking stress because of their children's exam? And I've seen this happen in my own family. The children are not really bothered, but the parents are stressed and hence force their children to study, or they want their children to get good marks. So how does that impact a child's mental well-being? Can you talk about
Definitely.
that?
Yeah. I think it impacts them in a very big way because we all mirror emotions and we all mirror feelings, right? So when a parent is very stressed, what can happen is that the children can mirror that stress as well and anxiety as well, right? So very often that can be something that can be passed on to the children, even if they are not feeling very stressed, because the parents have certain expectation that you should be academically doing certain things. And I remember, I think it's changing a little bit now, but back in the days when we were studying, it was either you take engineering or you take medicine, and nothing else, right? So the kind of expectation that parents had, I think transferring that onto children impacted them in a big way, because it affects their self-esteem when they're not able to do that well. We're also not trying to understand, like, what is the aptitude of the children, what is their interest, what is something that they may like doing, right? And I think these are very important aspects. So as parents, I think it's very important for parents to first understand, like, what is their expectation, is it even rational? Have you tried to understand, like, what is the interest that your child is bringing in, what is their aptitude, and also their personality, right? All these three things are very important when we look at career counseling as well. But very often we just go with what is the trend, okay, it's either this or that, and we push them into something that they may not be very interested in. So I think it's very important for parents to take care of their own mental health, especially when we are dealing with children, right? Because I think sometimes you could have a very difficult day. At the end of it, not being able to spend enough time with your children or connect with them, but just imposing whatever you think is right on them, it creates that kind of gap between parents and children. So I think parents focusing on their own mental health is extremely important. Very often we see that, like, these days, quality time is reducing more and more. Like simple things like having maybe, I know breakfast and lunch is difficult because most of them are working, children are in school, but having dinners together, like how often do, we sit as a family and have dinners together? Or how often do you have like a movie night? So these small rituals which are there that help to connect children and parents are extremely important. It's not just academics, that is going to build their identity. And also we need to realize that, the children's identity is being built in this time as well. So the more we are focusing only on academics, we forget to focus on the other good things. Like, for example, it could be sports, it could be dancing, it could be any of the hobbies, right? Some children are so interested in painting and other things. So if you're just encouraging academics and not encouraging anything else or not appreciating, it definitely affects their self-esteem a lot more. So I think to be able to understand what your own expectations are from the children, is it rational? Is it something that is, like, right? I think both the parents need to sit together and have that discussion first. And I think that will help to give some kind of direction to the child as well, right? Where what is, and having the space open for the children to come and speak about their difficulties. There could be bullying, there could be so many things, but if we are only focused on one thing, I think the connection then gets lost between parents and children. So having that space which is open, I think is very important. And what we were talking about stress some time back, right? And Sukriti was talking about how dance helps in creative expression. I think both your mind and body are connected, and it's very important to understand that the stress that you're accumulating is not going anywhere. And as parents, how are you letting it out? Because I work with adults very often. There are not many channels that they have, right? Like, do you have enough support system where you can talk about the difficulties? Sometimes you may be struggling with what the child is bringing in. A lot of parents may not understand that their child could be having some mental health difficulties. It could be ADHD, learning disabilities, and that's mainly because they may not be spending enough time with the child to understand what's happening. And I think just that awareness which parents can also develop can go a long way in understanding the child, right? Not just ignoring, thinking that okay, it's a temper tantrum, or it is something that the child is doing to trouble them. So these kind of things are something which I think parents can be a lot more involved in, and allow the child, like, especially when they're more stressed, then you need a lot more avenues where you can let go of that stress. It could be playing, it could be dancing. So especially during exams, I would encourage all parents as well to help them find at least some time, half an hour, 1 hour, where maybe they can let go physically. That is a channel where you can let go of that stress, right? Apart from that, building other support system for parents where they can talk to their friends, where they work out, they involve in movement as well. It could be spiritual things, it could be connections. However, they find that to be helpful. I think that's very important, because very often when we grow up, we are focusing more on our thoughts, but we forget somewhere about our feelings. And the more in touch we are with our feelings, the more we are connected to people. So I would encourage parents to be, involved in their own mental health as well. And like, Lakshmi ma'am was saying, when you're happy, others are also happy around you. So I think that really, helps the children to also mirror those emotions and be less stressed as well.
Thank you, Asha. Yes, makes a lot of sense. Find ways to be happy, find avenues to let loose, have create space for play with your children, with your bodies. Lakshmi ma'am, I mean Lakshmi from Praroha, would you like to say something? Would you like to add something? I see that you're unmuted
No,
yourself.
nothing. I just want to mention that yeah, Ashaji mentioned in her earlier talk. So that stress less will come when we are all together. That togetherness will come with a celebration, and that is especially when we are in India. We have so much cultural activities will happen. Each festival has its own significance. So now it's Ganesha Chaturthi is happening. You can just watch them when the sound of the drum comes, whether it's a young child or the middle age or the old people, whether they are shy or not shy, they all forget about their status. They will just try to jump into that one. So that has to come. I mean, not in that exaggerate way, but at least some element of that innocence when it comes to the parents. When we became parents, still if we have that kiddiness or the childness in within us, then we can make the stress less in our lifestyle. So I mean, yeah, celebration is more important to get that kind of a harmony or the rhythm to bring in the relationship between the parent and the kids. Then even kids won't be so scared that what my mother or the father will get scolded for me not studying properly or not getting up to their expectation. Because most of the parents, what they can't do in their old young or childhood, they want to see in their child progress, which is not correct, because we are all human beings and even kid has his own dream. So when we leave them to dream, then definitely they will walk. Then nowhere we can find any stress in the mental. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, thank you, Lakshmi ma'am. Dr. Jaya, I think taking it ahead, we see that mind and body are connection, as Asha brought that out. And what are the impacts of suppressing stress on physical health of adults, or as you deal with geriatrics and adolescents? What impacts do you see, and how can we protect ourselves? How can we take care of our well-being?
Um, as a GP, I see, from all age groups. I think I'm privileged to be able to care for people from all walks of life. Stress can manifest in many ways, mood disorders, behavioral issues, all the way to medical illnesses, metabolic syndromes, even cancer. There was a phenomenal study which actually studied the effect of stress on the cellular aging. They found that the telomeres, which actually determine cellular aging, are shortened with stress. So stress can affect us in our physical and mental health. Having said that, just like if everybody talks about mind over body, or this is a very well accepted concept, there's enough body of research of body over mind. And I came across this, I think a decade or so back, and this was phenomenal. I felt like, oh, this is an aha moment. Why nobody talks? I mean, why there's not enough talk about it? So just like, you can think yourself and, I think visualize or perceive, visualization is, I think, the it word now. You can also move your body and, undo a lot of the harm that stress puts in you. So it can be, the power poses, or, the dance discipline uh, brings about, or, any kind of movement gets all the hormones running, the endorphins, and boosting the serotonin levels. It can actually help us undo the stress. So I have had a fantastic experience, working with diabetes reversals, even helping, if not curative, it plays a huge role in undoing a lot of the illnesses, the modern day illnesses that we see across all age groups. So specifically talking about teenagers, I think having a fitness activity like a sport or dancing, can actually protect them from a lot of mental health issues like depression and anxiety.
I think, yes, absolutely. Please take notes and, keep yourself active. And I know stress is unavoidable, but we can always find ways to manage it through different activities and avenues that you can choose for yourself. Yes. Coming to Lakshmi ji, I think I would like to address the mother in you now, because I see that your daughters are really confident and they teach their juniors. When I come to the dance classes, I see them taking classes and they take the leadership role so easily, and they are beautiful personalities. So do you think dance has had a role in shaping that personality and giving them that confidence and the voice that they have today?
Thank you very much, Deepti. Definitely, dance has played the major role. I wouldn't say it is anything else. It is dance, because um, I haven't thought of all these much in my growing up days, why I am the way I am or anything. But now when I look back, I know what has helped me through a lot of things in my life. And the same I see in my children also. I believe that any kind of dance, it need not be always classical, it can be any kind of dance. When you do over a period of time, when you're very passionate about it, when you train yourself for a long period of time and practice it seriously, I have seen that the endurance in you really goes up. The endurance, your how resilient you become. When you go through a tough situation, how quickly you bounce back is something that I've really amused by in my personal experience and with my children and many others around me who have been in this field. But like when it comes to myself and my children, it's like when my children go through such experiences and how they deal with such experiences, I'm the first hand witness of all that. And when I experience the same, it is something that I can really vouch for. The resilience that you built through dance is something that I don't know if there is anything else that can give you. See, when you are going for a performance, or you've been practicing for a very long time, you practice with your group, you practice with your musicians, you're up for a performance, and there will be times when you may not be keeping well, or there is a family emergency, or one of your co-dancers hasn't turned up because of whatever reasons, but the show must go on. So whatever happens, you have to be there, you have to give your heart and soul into your performance. And that is something that will teach you a lot of valuable lessons without you knowing it. So that is something that I really feel is a reason behind what you mentioned about me and my girls. The resilience they built, the endurance that they built through dance. Another thing is adaptability. Like, you cannot expect every environment to be the same. You may yes, you may be learning a certain dance, a certain structure, say Bharatanatyam or Mohiniyattam or Kuchipudi, or you're learning freestyle, whatever it is. Even if there is a structure and pattern, you will have to adapt to a lot of other structures and patterns also. So I think your adaptability is, improving through dance. You gel well with people. Your social skills also is, developed through all this. Like you gel with any kind of people, you adapt to any kind of environment, whether you like it or not. Like, whether you like that environment or not, whether you like the person or not, you learn to handle that situation and people in a much more matured way than many others, because your it is like a, what you say, a muscle memory. Like, your brain just adapts to it. You know what to do in that situation because it is already trained to it. You don't have to think a lot. Another thing is your problem solving and your creative skills, thinking skills and all that, because you develop a lot of what you say, a presence of mind. Sometimes things don't go the way you planned, and within a fraction of a second, within a minute, you will have to alter your decisions. You have to have a plan B. You have to do something as you plan something, you go on stage and you end up doing something else. So that is something that, it comes with practice, it comes with more and more stage performances, and that actually translates to many other things in life. It's not only when you go on stage or when you perform dance. When you encounter situations, say in school during exam, or in your family during a function, there will be a lot of unexpected events that are thrown at you in your life, small and big. And you have some kind of a very, I don't know if I can call it very involuntarily, but that is usually what it is. I think, there are situations when you don't really think much and plan and all that. It just comes to you, at that moment, the presence of mind. At that moment, you can come up with some kind of solution that nobody can think of. It could be, some kind of, say, out of the box thinking. All this comes through dance, and that is exactly what has happened with my children too. And I think it is something very beautiful that they are also imparting to their juniors in class. And um, slowly, I think now this generation, they will be reflecting upon all these things, unlike us. Like, we all realize at a very much later stage. We enjoyed dancing, mother took us, we danced, we learned, we performed, we like the costume, jewelry, makeup and all that, it's done. But after, say 30 years, 30, and when you actually go through a lot of experiences in life, when you look back, where it all came from. What made you so resilient, what made you so patient and adaptable. So that is something I think now this generation, maybe it will help when we tell them, when we mention, see, this is how it is helping you. This is a reason why you were able to deal with that situation in this way. So I think that will be, if we mention that, if we kind of make children mindful of all that, I think it's going to do even more beautiful things in their future.
Yes, I think
That's
what Lakshmi ji spoke about is, Sukriti and Asha will agree with me since you work with corporates. These are the typical skills that corporate leaders and workers need to have: adaptability, resilience, problem solving skills, critical thinking, and creativity. So dance brings that on. And
definitely.
I hope everybody takes up dance, whether formal, informal, just dance for fun and whatever you want. Take dance as part of your life, part of your being, and it helps you with involuntarily dealing with situations. Unknowingly, you are adaptable, like how Lakshmi ji was mentioning. I think one last round, I would like to take the questions to the audience if they have any. If not, we can conclude the session with a concluding remark from all of you. Audience, any questions or any thoughts, anything you would like to say? Even on YouTube, if somebody is watching and if you have any questions, we will be happy to take that up as well.
Anyone wants to tell what you all felt as a dancer or a dance student's kids? I can see some of the kids are watching so curiously. What you have understood? You want to say something? Anyone from kids section?
Okay, I think that's okay. They will tell us later in the class when they come. I heard this, I understood this. What does this mean? So we
Yes.
will get their feedback later. We can wait for that. And I think we can conclude with probably two-liners from all of you. You know, what is a topic that all of you would like to discuss in future, and also something that all the children here, all the parents and families here should take up and cultivate a routine for it, or make it a part of their ritual. So can we just have two lines from all of you and probably a concluding remark from all of you? We'll start with Sukriti. We have been going in that order.
Right. So I think something that's been sticking a lot with me through our discussion today, and like was perhaps carried on from the last thing that Lakshmi ma'am and you also mentioned, Deepti, is creativity, right? I think like dance as a form of expression, movement as a form of expression, not just the set disciplines that we have, the set movements for set emotions that we have, but also like we spoke a lot about culture, right? Like all the cultural, and ma'am was also mentioning about, just being part of festivals and, movements during Visarjan or things like that. Those are not set movements. Those are just things that our body does as a form of celebration. So that is all enhancing a lot of creativity within us. And that creativity actually builds a lot more towards a lot of other life skills, because as Lakshmi was also saying at the end, right, with respect to her daughters, that because there has been creativity and all of that that they have learned at an earlier stage, that it becomes easier to adapt a lot more things, because creativity leads to some form of adaptability, some sort of accommodating. So I think for me, creativity is something that's sticking by, and maybe that's something for us to explore more as a separate topic also.
Yes, I think that makes a lot of sense. Creativity in life. Asha?
Yes, so I have always been a dance enthusiast. So when you told me about this topic, I was really excited because I've been dancing from the age of 3, but it's more free form, right? And I thought that, relating that with the cognitive development is definitely helpful. But as we were discussing, and even while I was thinking before as well, I think there are a lot of things that dance brings up, like even Lakshmi ma'am was saying, a lot of critical thinking, a lot of spatial awareness, your boundaries, and I think more than anything, your interpersonal skills, because very often when you're dancing in groups, you're developing that awareness, how to behave with groups and how to adapt and all of that. So I think it brings in a lot of different things, not just cognitive, but just as an expression, just as fun, like you were saying, right? Very often, if you look at any family functions that we have or weddings and things like that, we always have some kind of celebration, some kind of, dancing that, and music as well. So today I know that our topic was mostly focused on cognitive development, but it can also be much more, because I think it adds so much to our life as well. Especially in India, as a part of a culture, we have dance for every life stage development as well, right? And there is so much to it than just cognitive development. Of course, I know it's a major part which we have discussed today, but I think there is no end to how much we can discuss the benefits of dance itself. And I think very often, when people ask me like, how do we cope with stress, because today we were talking about that as well, we don't find enough avenues, and I think dance can be such a big avenue, and there is so much to choose from, right? Like, it's not just, even just in India we have so many dance forms, but then there are so many dance forms from abroad as well, or different cultures bringing in different dance forms. So I think there is so much learning that can happen through it, and it would be really nice to talk about the other aspects as well.
Absolutely, Asha. I think it's a very short time to bring in every aspect of dance, because there's so much more, and Natya Shastra and Abhinaya Darpana, all these scriptures that have in-depth explanation of what dance can do to a human being. And I'm sure there are many other books and artists who can talk about so much more about dance. We can definitely make it our agenda and, get more experts and talk about all of this in the future. Yes, thank you so much, Asha. Dr. Jaya, would you like to add something?
I think most of the things have been covered, but the the health benefits of dancing, for all age group. I think there was a brief mention of, dementia prevention. It's also been studied well in Parkinson. Perhaps, highlighting the effects of dance, when it comes to several neurological disorders. Probably a niche topic, but, something, that can be discussed one of the sessions.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think even with children, because we work so much with children, we can always work on prevention, as your expertise also is, right? We rather prevent all these diseases to happen in the future by dancing right now or involving movement in our daily routine right now. Thank you, Jayaji. Lakshmi ji, would you like to add a few points?
Sure. So I think we have covered in brief most of the areas of development in children, and we touched a little upon the adult and old age parts also. I would like to have a similar session, or a discussion on maybe the therapeutic aspect, very very, what you say, more specific areas, like how you say aramandi posture helps in balancing and your physical fitness and all that. Or it can be like, say, there are some steps. I'm talking more about classical here. That's what comes to my mind now. So how there are some steps where your right hand moves but left leg moves, so there's right and left brain coordination. All that happens in a very beautiful way when you practice those adavas. And how it can be, I'm somebody who is interested in this dance and movement therapy, so I would like to explore a lot in that. I keep telling Deepti, so how it can be actually used for very specific scenarios, like, say, children with learning disabilities, or a little on the autistic spectrum, or things like that. That is something that I would like to really explore and understand better. So I think if we have a discussion like this, we'll get to do a little more homework and have interactions with each other and learn more about those areas also. It'll be
Absolutely.
great.
Yes, I think we spoke about dance in general, but dance does have a therapeutic angle and it can be customized to a person's needs. And
Yes.
that's where the dance movement therapy facilitators and dance movement therapists come in. We can definitely, and we must talk about it. I think that's a field
Yes.
that Sukruti would like to add something here, I believe.
Yeah, sure, sure. Of course. I think I just wanted to add that, of course, there are Deepti knows she's been part of the course and all. So that's definitely there. But we have an upcoming conference this weekend in Bangalore itself on dance and other art therapies, and how they're used in different fields. So if anyone wants like a little bit of an exploration, any parents, any psychologists, anyone who's hearing us, that's a good space to just get a sense of how dance and movement and even other arts are used in a therapeutic context. So it's happening at Christ University this weekend. If anyone wants, you can just, probably just drop me a message and I can share details with all of you.
Absolutely. I think thank you for bringing that up, Sukruti. It looks like a very interesting 2 days that people can spend with, arts and dance and other therapeutic mediums that people can use for themselves and for others. So inviting everybody to attend the festival, I can call it a celebration, right? So yes, Lakshmi ma'am, would you like to say something? And before you say something, I would like to invite everybody for the next festival. I think Ganesha Visarjan is happening now, but soon we'll be inviting Durga and all the Devis, all the feminine energies who are, and our city is filled. We are from Bangalore and our city is full of cultural events during that time, and you can dance, and many ethnic cultures across India have dance as part of that celebration. So inviting everybody for that. And Lakshmi ma'am, what is your conclusion? What would you like to say in the end?
Actually, as Jayaji mentioned, we have covered up everything, because as a doctor, she knows better that how this therapy will involve to be in a healthy way. But it doesn't mean that we can cheat our death span of time. Okay, that is our destiny. But till we are breathing, when we are do breathe in, breathe out, it will be in harmony. That's why I say dance is the rhythmic beat of our everyday activities. We don't have to go and search it outside. It is within ourselves. When our beat is beating in a rhythm, when we are moving our activities in a proper way, we can keep our health intact. Beyond that, that is something else. But which is within in our boundary, keep it ourselves fit and fine. To be fit and fine, physically, mentally, this dance and music always help us. That's why even in our life is in 4 section. Abhinaya also 4 section. Correct? Balya, Yavana, Grihastha, Vruddhapya. Dance is there in all 4 aspects in its own rituals way. When the kid dance, it's least bother whether everybody is watching or they are not watching. They just enjoy. When we entering in the Yavana, we will be little conscious. Do I am doing right way? Can I sing now? Can I dance now? What they will think? Just forget it. Be yourself, even there. That childish should be there in there. Then, of course, when we all enter in the Grihastha we think, okay, now full stop. Because now we are more towards the responsibility. Yes, take the responsibility. We are not saying that go away from the responsibility. That don't forget the rhythms of the life that make your family in a good harmony to walk happily together. Of course, in Vruddhapya, again Balya Avastha will come. That time we will be least bothered. But our body won't help us to joy. That's why when we are going, for us, the other people will be dancing. But dance in harmony, dance in life is more important aspect. We can't leave that one. This is like sky and the earth. We are just living in the middle of the path and enjoy. That's all I wanted to say. But yeah, it was a wonderful talk as you are all felt. Yes, once we talk, no, it will go on, go on, go on, go on. At this point, I would like to tell one more thing. This is not just a talk. Let's try to implement in our lifestyle. Then only the discussion, what we have holding today, it will have a value for that one. So it's only life is 0, 1, 0, 1. When we are not there, 0. When we are there, 1. The combination of 0, 1 is more important. That's why 0, 1 is number 1, 1, 0 is number 10. The rest is just a number. The dance is like that only. In the beginning, how we are innocent, that you can take it like a 10. Then we are suppressing that element of the movement. Then we are becoming very rigid and very composed, as though we unnecessarily we are taking the burden or the stress on ourselves, which leads unhealthy plan. So let go that part, chill out, dance, breathe in, breathe out. So while breathe in, breathe out, you all came here to put your thoughts and made this Hunnimeya Sobagu really a wonderful and beautiful Sobagu. I personally, on behalf of Praroha Center for Arts Foundation, Sukruti ji, Jaya ji, Asha, of course, Lakshmi ji, thank you so much for accepting our invitation in a short period and made us to feel what is actually dance, how dance therapy or the dance movement is help in coming out with the stress. And Dipti, I don't say anything to you. That's why I told her actually. So this is the online one, and this is in your area. You just take care about everything, and you just handle it. So thank you so much for handling so good and so involving into that one. I can say that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank
Maybe
you. It
Deepti
was
may
Thank you,
conclude.
Deepti, for that
Thank you,
moderation.
Praroha.
Thank you for pulling it
Thank
together.
you. No, I think it
Yeah.
was
Nice
wonderful
meeting
to
you
have
all.
all of you together. It was really my pleasure to, have the opportunity to question you like this. So thank you for being so patient and kind, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
We really enjoyed it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for having us, Dipti. I think platforms like these are really needed. Thank you so much for having us.
I agree with you, Asha. I think we should host more such events, probably some practical activities that we can do with others as well, and give them a taste of
Yes.
what we are really talking about, like how Lakshmi ji also was mentioning, analyzing a dance posture and seeing how it helps us, right? So, yeah, inviting you once again for such engaging conversations in the future. Thank you. Have a
Very
Absolutely.
good
much. We
night.
look
Thank you.
forward to it. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you
Thank
all.
you, everyone.
Same
It was
here.
great
Thank
connecting
you.
with
Thank you
everyone as well.
all.
Meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once
Namaste.
Namaste.
Somebody is raising their hand. I
Yeah,
think
I think Aikya wanted to say something. Aikya, would you
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to?
please.
Yeah, you can say Aikya, whatever you want to say.
Good evening, everyone. I am Aikya Karan, a student of Lakshmi ma'am at Praroha Kathak Institution's Jammu Center. So I've been learning Kathak for the past 9 years, and I started when I was in UKG. So Kathak has helped me grow immensely in many ways, which I thought would not be possible. So Kathak is a storytelling kind of dance form with intricate footwork, and it has beautiful hand gestures and hand movements. So through rigorous training, I've been able to develop skills like discipline, focus, and perseverance. And I think through practice, I've also been able to develop coordination, memory, and creativity. So Kathak is a dance form which helps me connect me to my cultural heritage, which fills me with great pride and respect to the roots. So I treat Kathak like a stress reliever and confidence booster. So when I'm on stage, I forget all my worries and become one with the music. So the applause later reinforces my self belief and motivation. So I would say that Kathak has invaluable benefits beyond just dance. So its discipline helps me to stay organized. The creative expression has more, I mean, helps you to uh, get better in your writing and presentation skills. You learn teamwork, communication, and anticipation, also through group performances. And for me, in conclusion, Kathak is more than just a dance. It's also like a way of life. So it's shaped me into a confident, culturally aware, disciplined individual. So I'm grateful for this beautiful art form and the impact it's had on my life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aikya. I think coming from the horse's mouth and, summarizing the entire discussion that we had today, it was beautiful. I'm sure Lakshmi ma'am will be really proud because Aikya always gets, Aikya do this, Aikya do that. And finally, Aikya has really spoken what she has learned in so many classes that she's been attending. Thank you so much, Aikya, for that beautiful talk of yours. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being present. Have a good Ganapati celebrations and Visarjans. And let's welcome Durga with the same spirit. Thank
Will do,
you.
sure.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
everyone.